evening, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Vargas. We begin tonight in Massachusetts, where the mother who admits to strangling her 3 children was back in court for the murder trial that has riveted the nation and sparked a national debate about mental health. The heart of the case comes down to sanity. Lindsay Clancy's defense argues she was over-medicated and suffering from severe postpartum psychosis when she committed the murders. Prosecutors claim she planned the killings and knew right from wrong. Today, week 5 of the trial began with tense clashes between the defense attorney and the prosecution's star rebuttal witnesses. And it all abruptly ended early with the jury dismissed after a call for an immediate mistrial. The defense accused the prosecution of intentional misconduct when a prosecution witness mentioned Clancy's religion. The judge denied the request, but he was not happy, and he gave a stern reminder to the jurors.
The religion that the defendant was raised with is absolutely an inappropriate area of testimony. It is to be stricken. It is not to be considered. I can't be any more clear of that. It cannot be considered.
Let's bring in our panel now, our all-star panel. Nima Rahmani is a former federal prosecutor. Brian Claypool is a criminal defense attorney. And Lauren Conlon is a reporter with Los Angeles Magazine. She's been in court for many days now following this case. She's also the host of the Outsider podcast. Great to have all of you here. All right, Nima. A second prosecution witness now testifies about murder and suicide and this being a mortal sin. The judge sounded honestly furious even as he denied a mistrial. How did this happen twice?
At this point, Elizabeth, I think maybe the prosecution is trying to throw this case, get a mistrial granted, and start all over. It reminds me when I was a kid playing Monopoly with my family, and my sister would just throw the board when, she landed on one of my properties. Because
you think
now
they instructed this witness to say that?
Well, you're supposed to instruct your witness on the in limine motions. Hey, don't go into these areas. The judge has made it clear that we cannot say it. The fact that you have the exact same verbiage used by this witness is highly problematic. Now, I understand what the prosecution is trying to do, but the judge said no. The prosecution's arguing, look, she was a Catholic. She knew right from wrong. This is a sin. Therefore, she is criminally responsible and not insane. But it's so prejudicial to talk about religion and so irrelevant. The judge did make the right ruling. So really, a number of missteps by the prosecution. This is one of them. You got to prepare your witnesses. You got to tell them this is what happened. You can't go into this area. Don't mention it. It happens all the time with witnesses, even expert witnesses.
Right.
So the failure of the prosecution to do so is a huge problem in this case.
Super quick, Nima, before I move on to Brian and Lauren, why is it prejudicial to talk about religion? We should point out Lindsay Clancy is Catholic. Almost half the population in this area is Catholic.
It's prejudicial because it really has nothing to do with the core question in the case.
This is a legal case, not a
legal case. It's not really. We're not in a religious court here. Do you understand that what you were doing is criminally wrong, and can you control your behavior? That's it. Those are the jury instructions. It doesn't matter whether you believe in God, you don't. It's a sin. It's not. It's completely irrelevant, and it's just prejudicial, Elizabeth.
Brian, the judge did issue what's called a curative instruction. We played a little bit of it there, telling the jurors that they could not consider these mortal sin comments, saying they're, quote, immaterial, irrelevant, and to be disregarded. You cannot consider them. Is this something, can the jury just do that? Or does this actually even call more attention to it?
Yeah, Elizabeth, great question. I mean, let's remember, jurors are not robots. They are human beings. They bring into that courtroom their own life's experiences. And when you have a judge now twice admonishing the prosecution, and I did think he made a mistake by letting him go home today, right? To your point, it brought too much attention to it.
Right, but sending them right home, it's like, it feels all very dramatic.
Exactly, it was too dramatic. He should have just gotten back to the trial. But look, we are not going to really know the effect of these two horrible mistakes by the prosecution until after this case is over. What do I mean by that? Let's say he's convicted. Then rest assured, Clancy's lawyers are going to interview every single juror and ask them whether their religion played any belief at all or played a part in their ruling on. might serve then as a basis to get a new trial on appeal.
Yeah, I'm not sure the defense wants a mistrial because things do seem to be going their way right now, but they sure have laid the groundwork for an appeal. Lauren, we know the jury, all of them, all 18, we don't know which 12 will be the decision makers, but all 18 have been paying very close attention throughout this trial. How did they react today to all of this?
Well, it's been really interesting to follow them and watch them because at certain points during Kevin Reddington's cross-examination, you can see these jurors just wide-eyed, like they are watching a movie. Sometimes their jaw is dropped when Kevin Reddington says things like, "Have you even come within 100 feet of a pregnant woman?" I mean, he just says it like it is. And, some people that may not sit well with some jurors, but look, we'll wait and see. I will say this jury is very serious. They are taking notes. They are engaged, and they skew a bit older. When the children are brought up, they do get somber, and they have cried before in court when discussing the strangulation of the children. And so I have to wonder at this point, can they get past that? Can they get past the brutalness of this case? And I also want to add, something else they can't unhear or unsee is Lindsay Clancy's sobs, her tears during the medical examiner's testimony. I mean, again, they're supposed to, just, remove that from their brain. They can't. They saw it. And also, Dr. Heilbrunn, for whatever it's worth, he was 100%, in my opinion at least, the best witness that they had so far on the stand. He spoke in lay terms. He was easy to understand. And he made me question certain things that I kind of thought initially. I'm weighing things now because of what he said.
Like what, Lauren, very quickly?
Well, for example, the psychosis. You had said this at the beginning. It's convenient that it was only for 18 minutes. That was the only time that she heard this voice. He brings up that when Patrick Clancy finds Lindsay on the ground after she jumped from the window and cut her throat and wrists, he said, "What happened?" And she said, "I tried to kill myself." Well, Dr. Heilbrunn said if she was experiencing psychosis, she might say something along the lines of, "I listened to the voice," or "I did what the voice told me to do." Things along that nature.
Nima, do you agree with Lauren's assessment of things? Did and by the way, I was struck by when Dr. Heilbrunn said she only heard the voice for those, 18 minutes. But she had for months been telling her mother, her mother-in-law, and her husband that she was having disturbing thoughts of hurting herself and the kids, and later told doctors that she wasn't completely honest about how bad it was to everybody because she was afraid someone would take the kids away from her.
Yeah, Brian and Lauren are two of the best. And just to address two of the points Lauren made, and I agree. Look, jurors in these cases, they tend to skew older because they're hardship waivers, and if you're going to go weeks and weeks and weeks, most people that have a job are
often
in school,
working or at school.
So it could cut both ways. Obviously, older tends to be conservative, but maybe they're have had kids and grandkids and have experienced this. Now, with respect to the psychosis just being for that period of days and not intermittent, I think that was a good point. I think a very good point that was made by this expert too was the fact that this was an altruistic suicide. It wasn't psychosis. She killed her children because she didn't want them to experience life with their mother having committed suicide. It is a very plausible alternate theory for the prosecution, and frankly, one of the best ones that really should have come out a lot earlier, not at the last day or the second to last day with their rebuttal witness. So I thought that was a very good point made by him as well.
Brian, the defense attorney had a field day with the other prosecution rebuttal witness who has only examined 2 other women for postpartum mental health issues before taking the stand as a, quote, expert witness, and also apparently had a previous incident where he was hired as an expert witness in a trial in Florida on a different kind of case, but was exposed as not being an expert in that case.
Yeah, Elizabeth, look, I respectfully disagree with some of the commentary tonight. I think the prosecution has put on a sloppy case. They waited to the last very second. They would have lost this case unless they call an expert today. You and I talked about that, to talk about what the medical diagnosis was here, number one. And then number two, they're going to get a jury instruction about the foundation. You got to weigh the experts. Who's got an adequate foundation? Who doesn't? The experts for Clancy have seen her, what, 20, 30, 40 times? This guy 3 times, 3 years
and
after.
3 years later, like.
One last point I want to make is crucial in this case. The law in Massachusetts does not require the Clancy defense to prove that she had postpartum psychosis. It's not the medical diagnosis that's required for an insanity defense. It's the level of impairment. That's what the jury's got to decide.
Okay.
And they could hear this testimony from the prosecutor's expert and still go back there and say, wait a minute, I hear that, but she was still very much substantially impaired when she killed her kids.
Lauren, tens of thousands of people are watching the live stream of this trial every single day. More than 50,000 watched it on the Associated Press site alone. Tens of thousands more are watching on other sites as well. Other sites are airing the trial. Social media is awash with people arguing about the trial. Most of the arguments are pretty awful and pretty reductive. But I was struck when I read this post from a Catholic priest, very ironic given everything that's happened today, who said that some prominent Catholic influencers are behaving, as he put it, disgracefully, dismissing, as he said, an illness they do not understand. He posted this: "We do not have to choose between grieving Cora, Dawson, and Callan and recognizing that their mother was severely ill. I will not turn Lindsay into a hero or pretend 3 children were not killed by their mother. But neither will I join a public stoning led by influencers who mistake cruelty for moral clarity. 3 children should still be alive. We must ask what must change so another family does not reach the same horrifying end." I thought that was quite on the nose. What do you make of that?
I was just going to say that was very well said, because I think there is a way to feel sympathy for Lindsay Clancy, to be absolutely outraged, horrified, and just gutted over the murder of her kids, but acknowledge that, would she have done this if she were healthy?
Or acknowledge she was failed repeatedly by the mental health profession.
Correct. And just to clarify here, Brian, I also agree with you. The prosecution has put on not the best case until today, because it is going to be the battle of the experts. And while Dr. Resnick was phenomenal, he evaluated Lindsay years ago, but he was on Zoom. I was in the courtroom. It wasn't the same effect that Dr. Heilbrunn had. I got to say it. It wasn't the same, although you can't get much better than Dr. Resnick. You really can't. But it's awful. I just don't envy the jury. I really don't envy what they have to do.
It is a heartbreaking case and a complicated, complex case. And sadly, so much of, like everything else on social media, it's cartoonish in its reductiveness and quick conclusions. Nima Rahmani, Brian Claypool, Lauren Conlon, thank you all 3 so much. Really, really appreciate it.